Hi guys, welcome to my study compass. In this video, I'll be walking you through the past paper Math P2 Variant 3 October-November 2020. Let's get started. Write down the cube number that is greater than 50 but less than 100. One of the cube numbers in this range is 64. 4 cubed gives us 64. Calculate 4 over the square root of 0.0025. When we type this expression into the calculator, we get 80. In triangle ABC, BC is 7.6 centimeters and AC is 6.2 centimeters. Using a ruler and compasses only, construct triangle ABC. Leave in your construction arcs. The side AB has been drawn for you. So first, open your compass to 6.2 centimeters, stand at point A and construct an arc. Then open your compass to 7.6 centimeters, stand at point B and construct another arc. The intersection point of the arcs is the point C. So now draw a line from point A to point C and draw another line from point B to point C to complete the triangle. Simplify. A squared divided by A raised to the power 6. Since the two terms have the same base and they are dividing, we subtract their powers. This gives us A raised to the power 2 minus 6. 2 minus 6 is negative 4, and so our final answer here is A raised to the power negative 4. Thor changes 40,000 Icelandic krona into dollars when the exchange rate is 1 krona equals $0.0099. Work out how many dollars he receives. First, let's set up our exchange ratio. If 1 krona equals $0.0099, then how much will 40,000 krona be in dollars? This is what we are representing as x. From this ratio, we can set up an equation to find x. This gives us x equals 40,000 krona divided by 1 krona times $0.0099. When we type this into the calculator, we get $396. The diagram shows triangle ABC. The triangle is reflected in the line BC to give a quadrilateral ABDC. Write down the mathematical name of the quadrilateral ABDC. After reflecting triangle ABC in the line BC, this is how the quadrilateral ABDC looks like. This shape is a kite. Find angle ACD. We get this angle by subtracting the sum of 58 degrees and 82 degrees from 180 degrees, which gives us 40 degrees. If this is 40 degrees, then this angle is also 40 degrees, and so angle ACD is 2 times 40 degrees, which is 80 degrees. Change 457,000 centimeters squared into meters squared. To convert this number to meters squared, we convert centi to its prefix, which is 10 raised to the power negative 2, and we square it. When we type this into the calculator, we get 45.7 meters squared. The length L centimeters of a line is 18.3 centimeters, correct to the nearest millimeter. Complete this statement about the value of L. 1 millimeter is equivalent to 0.1 centimeter. So for the upper bound of L, we have 18.3 plus 0.1 centimeter divided by 2, which is 18.35 centimeters. And for the lower bound of L, we have 18.3 minus 0.1 centimeters divided by 2, which is 18.25 centimeters. And so for our final answer, we have L is greater than and equal to 18.25 centimeters and less than 18.35 centimeters. Without using a calculator, work out 1/7 times 2/10. You must show all your working and give your answer as a mixed number in its simplest form. First, we convert the mixed fractions into improper fractions. For 1/7, we have 7 times 1 plus 1, which is 8, divided by 7. And for 2/10, we have 10 times 2 plus 1, which is 21, divided by 10. 7 goes into itself once and goes into 21 3 times. 2 goes into 8 4 times and goes into 10 5 times. And so for the numerator, we have 4 times 3, which is 12. And for the denominator, we have 1 times 5, which is 5. This is an improper fraction and we need to change it to a mixed fraction as required by the question. 5 goes into 12 2 times with a remainder of 2, which we divide by 5. And so our final answer is 2/5. Solve the simultaneous equations. You must show all your working. 3x minus 8y equals 22. X plus 4y equals 4. Let's start by eliminating the variable y. To do this, we can multiply equation 2 by 2. This gives us 2x plus 8y equals 8. We can label this equation as equation 3. So now we have negative 8y in equation 1 and positive 8y in equation 3. When we add equation 1 to equation 3, we have 3x plus 2x plus 8y minus 8y, which is 0, equals 22 plus 8. 3x plus 2x is 5x. 22 plus 8 is 30. When we divide both sides of the equation by 5, we get x equals 6. To find y, we can substitute the value of x into any of the equations. If we pick equation 2, we have 6 plus 4y equals 4. When we simplify the equation and make y the subject, we get negative 0.5. A bag contains 7 red discs, 5 green discs, and 2 pink discs. Helen takes one disc at random, records the color, and replaces it in the bag. She does this 140 times. Find how many times she expects to take a green disc. The number of times she is expected to take a green disc is equal to 140 times the probability of taking a green disc. The probability of taking a green disc is equal to the number of green discs in the bag, which is 5, divided by the total number of discs in the bag, which is 7 plus 5 plus 2. When we type this into the calculator, we get 50. Helen adds 9 green discs and some pink discs to the discs already in the bag. The probability of taking a green disc is now 2/7. Find the number of pink discs that Helen added to the bag. Okay, so we know that the probability of taking a green disc is equal to the number of green discs in the bag divided by the total number of discs. If Helen adds 9 green discs to the bag, then the number of green discs is now 5 plus 9. In addition to the 9 green discs, she also adds a number of pink discs, which we will represent as P. This means the total number of discs will now be 14 plus 9 plus P. We've also been given the probability of taking a green disc in this new scenario as 2/7. 5 plus 9 is 14. 14 plus 9 is 23. From here, when we make P the subject, we get 26. A straight line L has equation y equals 5x plus 12. Write down the gradient of the line. The equation of the line is already in the form y equals mx plus c. And so the coefficient of the x term is the gradient of the line, and that is 5. Find the coordinates of the point where the line L crosses the x-axis. At the point where the line crosses the x-axis, the y-coordinate is 0. When we substitute y equals 0 into the equation, we have 5x plus 12 equals 0. When we make x the subject, we get negative 2.4. And so the coordinate of the point is negative 2.40. A line perpendicular to line L has gradient k. Find the value of k. If the line is perpendicular to line L, then the product of their gradients must be equal to negative 1. This gives us the gradient of the perpendicular line as negative 0.2. Use set notation to describe the shaded region. The region shaded represents elements in set B that are not in set A. In set notation, we write this as B intersection A complement. N equals 2 raised to the power 4 times 3 times 7 raised to the power 5. Pn equals k, where p is an integer and k is a square number. Find the smallest value of p. To get the smallest value of p, we need to match the prime factors in n to the prime factors in p so that the sum of their powers add up to the smallest even number. 2 already has an even number, so we move to 3. 3 has a power of 1, and so to get the smallest even number, which is 2, we bring in 3 raised to the power 1 in p. 7 has a power of 5, and so to get the smallest even number, which is 6, we bring in 7 raised to the power 1 in p. So now for p, we have 3 times 7, which is equal to 21. M equals 2p plus square root of x over y. Make x the subject of this formula. When we subtract 2p from both sides of the equation, this is what we get. When we square both sides, this is what we have. To leave x standing alone, we multiply both sides by y. This gives us x equals y times m minus 2p squared. A paperweight has height 4 cm and volume 38.4 cm cubed. A mathematically similar paperweight has height 7 cm. Calculate the volume of this paperweight. Based on the fact that the two paperweights are similar, the ratio of the volumes should be equal to the ratio of their heights cubed. When we make V the subject of the equation, this is what we get. When we type this into the calculator, we have 205.8 centimeters cubed. Adele and Brian are paid the same wage. Adele is given a 7% pay decrease and his new wage is $427.80. Brian is given a 7% pay increase. Work out Brian's new wage. Let's represent Adele's old wage with Y. Since his new wage is a 7% reduction from his old wage, then it means 93% of Y equals $427.80. When we make Y the subject, we get $460. Adele's old wage is the same as Brian's old wage. Since Brian's new wage is a 7% increase from his old wage, then it means his new wage is equal to 107% of $460, which is $492.20, correct to 2 decimal places. Simplify 4xy squared all cubed. By the laws of indices, this can be rewritten as 4 cubed times x cubed times y squared all cubed. 4 cubed is 64, and when we multiply the powers of y, 2 times 3 is 6. And so our final answer here is 64x raised to the power 3, y raised to the power 6. 25 equals 125 raised to the power k. Find the value of k. We can rewrite 25 as 5 squared and 125 as 5 cubed. For 5 cubed raised to the power k, the powers multiply to give us 5 raised to the power 3k. Since the bases of both terms are now equal, then their powers should also be equal. This gives us 3k equals 2. When we divide both sides by 3, we get k equals 2 over 3. The diagram shows the speed time graph for the final 40 seconds of a car journey. At the start of the 40 seconds, the speed is v meters per second. Find the acceleration of the car during the first 24 seconds. This acceleration is equal to the gradient of the graph from t equals 0 to t equals 24. So we have v plus 10 minus v divided by 24 minus 0 meters per second squared. V minus v is 0, so we have the acceleration as 10 over 24, which is equal to 0.417 meters per second squared, rounded to 3 significant figures. The total distance traveled during the 40 seconds is 1.24 kilometers. Find the value of v. The total distance traveled is equal to the area under the graph from t equals 0 to t equals 40. This area can be split into two. This is what we have labeled as D1 and D2. D1 is in the shape of a trapezium, and so D1 is half of the top length, which is v, plus the bottom length, which is v plus 10, times the height, which is 24. D2 is in the shape of a triangle, and so D2 is equal to half of the base, which is 40 minus 24, times the height, which is v plus 10. D is the total distance traveled, and that has been given as 1.24 kilometers. We need to convert this to meters since D1 and D2 are in meters. So we multiply 1.24 by 1000 to convert it to meters. When we simplify the terms in the bracket, this is what we get. When we expand 12 times 2v plus 10, we get 24v plus 120. And when we expand 8 times v plus 10, we get 8v plus 80. 24v plus 8v is 32v, and 120 plus 80 is 200. When we subtract 200 from both sides of the equation, we get 32v equals 1040. When we divide both sides by 32, we have v equals 1040 divided by 32, which is equal to 32.5. Factorize 3x plus 8y minus 6ax minus 16ay. When we rearrange the expression to group-like terms, this is what we have. For the first two terms, when we factor out 3x, we are left with 1 minus 2a. And for the final two terms, when we factor out 8y, we are left with 1 minus 2a. This can be rewritten as 3x plus 8y times 1 minus 2a. OAB is the sector of a circle center O. OB is 8 centimeters and angle AOB is 30 degrees. BP is perpendicular to OA. Calculate AP. From the diagram, AP is equal to OA minus OP. OA is the radius, and so it has the same length as OB, which is 8 centimeters. Let's find OP. OP is the base of the right-angled triangle OBP, so we can easily find the length of OP by applying SOHCAHTOA. This gives us cos 30 degrees equals OP divided by 8 centimeters. When we make OP the subject, we get 8 cos 30 centimeters. Now that we know the length of OP, AP is equal to 8 minus 8 cos 30 centimeters. When we type this into the calculator, we get 1.07 centimeters rounded to 3 significant figures. Work out the area of the shaded region, APB. The area of the shaded region is equal to the area of the sector minus the area of the triangle. The area of the sector is 30 degrees divided by 360 degrees times pi 8 squared, and the area of the triangle is half of OB, which is 8, times OP, which we found as 8 cos 30 degrees, times the sine of the angle between these two lengths, which is 30 degrees. When we type this into the calculator, we get 2.90 centimeters squared, rounded to 3 significant figures. The table shows information about the times t seconds taken by each of 100 students to solve a puzzle. Calculate an estimate of the mean time. The mean is equal to sigma f of x, which is the total sum of the time taken by all the students, divided by sigma f, which is the number of students. Before we can find sigma f of x, we need to find the average time for the given time intervals. For the first interval, the average time is 0 plus 10 seconds divided by 2, which is 5. Then we have 10 plus 15 divided by 2, which is 12.5. 15 plus 20 divided by 2, which is 17.5. 20 plus 40 divided by 2, which is 30. And finally, we have 40 plus 75 divided by 2, which is 57.5. So now sigma f of x will be 5 times 9 plus 12.5 times 18 plus 17.5 times 22 plus 30 times 30 plus 57.5 times 21. Sigma f is 100. When we type this into the calculator, we get 27.625. Emmanuel draws a histogram to show this information. The table shows the heights in centimeters of some of the bars for this histogram. Complete the table. The height of the intervals on a histogram are determined by their frequency densities. Frequency density is equal to frequency divided by interval width. First, let's take a look at the height of the first interval, which has already been done for us. The frequency density of this interval is 9 divided by 10 minus 0, which is 0.9. The frequency density value and the height value are different. This means 0.9 times a certain scale factor equals 3.6. When we divide both sides by 0.9, we get the scale factor as 4. So now to get the height of this interval, we have 4 times its frequency density, which is 30 divided by 40 minus 20. This gives us the height as 6. For this interval, we have 4 times its frequency density, which is 21 divided by 75 minus 40. This gives us the height as 2.4. Y is inversely proportional to the square root of x. When y is 7, x is 2.25. Write y in terms of x. In mathematical terms, we write y is inversely proportional to the square root of x. We can rewrite this as y is equal to a constant, which we are going to call k, times 1 over square root of x. From here, we need to find the value of k. We can get the value of k by substituting the values of y and x given in the question. This gives us 7 equals k divided by the square root of 2.25. When we make k the subject, we get 7 times square root of 2.25, which is equal to 10.5. So now we have y equals 10.5 divided by the square root of x. Simplify. X squared minus 25 divided by x squared minus 17x plus 60. For the numerator, we can rewrite x squared minus 25 as a difference of 2 squares. This gives us x squared minus 5 squared. For the denominator, we can rewrite negative 17x as negative 5x minus 12x. For the numerator, we can apply the factorization for the difference of two squares. And so we can rewrite x squared minus 5 squared as x plus 5 times x minus 5. And for the denominator, when we factor out x from the first two terms, we are left with x minus 5. And when we factor out negative 12 from the final two terms, we are left with x minus 5. For the denominator, we can rewrite the expression as x minus 5 times x minus 12. X minus 5 cancels out in the numerator and the denominator, and we are left with x plus 5 divided by x minus 12 as our final answer. Solve 3 tan x equals negative 4 for x is greater than and equal to 0 degrees and less than and equal to 360 degrees. When we make tan x the subject, we have tan x equals negative 4 over 3. Now that we've made tan x the subject, we need to find the value of alpha, which is the reference angle that will allow us to find all the possible values for x in the given range. We find alpha by taking the tan inverse of the positive value of negative 4 over 3, which is 4 over 3. When we type this into the calculator, we get 53.1 degrees rounded to one decimal place. Now we need to draw the quadrants. Since the value of tan x is negative, we only measure the angles of alpha in the quadrants where tan is negative. The angle alpha is measured from the horizontal axis in these quadrants. When we go around the quadrant the first time, we get our first value of x as 180 degrees minus 53.1 degrees, which is equal to 126.9 degrees. When we go around the quadrant the second time, we get our second value of x as 360 degrees minus 53.1 degrees, which is equal to 306.9 degrees. And so for our final answers, we have x equals 126.9 degrees or x equals 306.9 degrees. Thank you for watching. I hope you found this video useful. See you in the next video. Bye guys.